Hello, everybody. Welcome to Currently Inked for May 5th, 2016. I'm Matt Armstrong, and I am happy to introduce David Parker of the YouTube channel FigbootOnPens, who is joining me today for the Currently Inked. So, David, welcome to the second episode of Currently Inked.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Matt. I appreciate it.
So, why don't you tell everybody, well, let me back up a little bit. I first got introduced to David's channel a few months ago when he emailed me asking a couple of questions about my setup, because he was getting started doing more videos and wanted a little information about what I was doing. And we've talked back and forth a little bit. I believe I helped to influence a dangerous purchase that he made, and which then turned into two dangerous purchases, a story I know all too well. So David, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started in pens, why start a YouTube channel, all that kind of stuff. Sure.
I'm actually originally from Southern California, from the San Diego area, and that I'm now based in the Raleigh, North Carolina area, and that I probably purchased my first fountain pen about 4 or 5 years ago. I had someone at work who was a bad influence, and they showed me their pen. And that, I'm kind of a quirky guy, and so quirky people usually kind of do things against the norm. So I went out and had to purchase a fountain pen. And so I bought myself an All-Star and was pretty happy with that for a while.
I think the important color is, or the important question is, what color was the All-Star?
And that, I probably didn't even know the difference between the All-Star and the Safari. I probably didn't even know when I ordered it that one was metal and one was not. I think I just went for the silver. Mm-hmm. And then eventually I picked up a Safari and enjoyed that. And then I was part of a Reddit gift exchange, and someone gave me a Parker Urban gift set, and that actually had the inkwell in it. And that was the first time I had a pen with an actual inkwell. I had been using the cartridges for the Lamys. And so, I really got the feeling for what it was like to fill up a pen, and I really enjoyed that. And I had those pens for about 3 or 4 years and really didn't do much other than that. And then, for some reason, I'm really not quite sure what triggered it, but I kind of thought, you know what, let me see if there's anything else out there. And that's a very dangerous question to ask. And I picked up a couple of Metros, and then what really did it was I picked up a TWSBI Diamond 580.
Yeah, that is an excellent pen. Just so everyone knows, we are running into some bandwidth issues on the show, so if one or the other of us drops out, we're going to keep going as best we can. Hopefully we'll be able to get this resolved here before too much longer, but having some odd internet issues today. So are you back again with us, David?
Yeah,
okay.
Everything was fine.
Okay, well, so why decide when you finally started spending your life savings on pens? Why did you decide to move into doing more reviews and stuff on YouTube?
For me, it was a natural extension of the hobby, and it was more just because I wanted to do something that was fun, and it wasn't because I just wanted to put myself out there. It was more, I kind of have a background in video and film production, and I enjoy that aspect of it, and enjoy putting the reviews together and public speaking. And, I really debated for a long time. There was lots of questions that I had. Does the world really need another Pilot Metro review? Probably not. And I just looked at tons of other videos to try to determine, okay, can I do it?
Looks like we've got another freeze. So,
okay.
Go ahead where you were saying, does the world need another video reviewer?
Yeah, does the world need another Metro review? Mm-hmm. And I wrote down lists of pros and cons, and then finally I had almost decided not to do it. And then on Stephen Brown's channel, I came across a video that he had that was called "Why Aren't You Doing Reviews?"
Mm-hmm. I saw that same video, actually.
And after I watched that, I said, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And so I decided to kind of work with the equipment I had, which is why in my first few videos the lighting is terrible, because it was just through a natural window, and tried to not even publicize things. I would just put out a few reviews, and then I can recall when all of a sudden that ticker went from 0 to 1 as far as a view, and being excited that someone actually looked at it. And so far, I'm really having fun, and the feedback that I received is very positive. And so I'm trying to continue to have fun and just kind of work on putting out a good product. I think if you put out a good product, then
see,
that I like to achieve.
Yeah. Okay, so we had another little cutout there. Sorry guys, it happens, and that's the joy of streaming this. So you know, we'll continue to do the best we can. So let's go ahead. We'll intersperse some more conversation, but I wanted to show you one of my currently inked first, and then David will do one. This little monster here.
Nice. I like that green.
Is just beautiful. This is from a Japanese maker called Stylo Art, and it is made of Japanese ash wood that is dyed green and then urushi lacquered on top of that. And the cool thing about this pen is he builds them so they accept the nib units and the sections from either Pilot or Sailor pens. So this is a number 10 nib from a Pilot. It's a medium. It is a gorgeous writer, and then he also makes them large enough that they can take the full-sized Con 70 converters, which is really nice. So yeah, I got this at the LA show. Really like it. I'm hopefully going to have a review coming up before the end of the season. If not, it'll be early in season 4 when I start that back up in October. And at the moment, what do I have that inked with? I gotta look here. Uh-oh, Matt, you didn't write it down. Well, let me check. That's why I have the pad.
If you only had an ink log to write that information down in.
Yeah. Actually, I do have it written down. I didn't see it because I don't have a swatch of it, but it's the Teka ink that they made for me in the aubergine color, which is kind of it's kind of brown, red, purple. It's an interesting color. I like it a lot. So that is one of my currently inked. So what about you, David? What's one of your currently inked?
Well, something I just got.
Oh yeah.
That it came from Mr. Newton. And that it came in this pouch here. And here we have a brown ripple ebonite oversized long. And that the coloring on this is just amazing. I really like this. And the ebonite has some really nice swirls to it. And it has a very nice nib as well. This is my first Newton pen. And I'm really enjoying it. And right now it is inked with one of my favorite browns, which is the Franklin Christoph Terra Firma, which looks like this. And I'm always a sucker for nice bottles, and I kind of like this bottle too.
Yeah, they're tall, but the opening's wide enough you can still ink your pen from it. They're nice bottles. I like them.
Liking my first Newton. It performs very well, and the craftsmanship is excellent on it.
Yeah, Sean is good at what he does. So tell me a little bit about the name FigbootOnPens. Where did that come from?
Well, that's kind of the moniker I've been using for quite some time in regard to gaming and things like that. And where it originates from is based on a book. There is a series of 3 books by an author named Graham Romeo, and he has a Bigfoot trilogy. And in the second book, I actually have it here, called Me Write Book. They are hilarious books that either you will read and think it's the funniest thing in the world, or think it's very tried out for Sesame Street. And didn't quite get the job, and lost out to some freaky elephant and things like that. But there was one page in here that Bigfoot had an online dating profile. And his username on the online dating profile was Figboot.
Oh, okay. There you go.
And that I like these books so much that I actually contacted the author to try to get him to do a custom painting for me, and he did. And so he did a kind of, I have a one-of-a-kind painting of Bigfoot that's actually in my office at work, and that's my icon on my YouTube page, is the painting that he did. So that's the origin of Figboot. It's not the strawberry shortcake cartoon pink dinosaur. That's a different Figboot.
Well, I wasn't aware that that was even a thing, so I suppose that's good to know. Yeah, I get asked because I use Dr. Chumley as an online moniker a lot. That's my my personal Twitter account that's not pen related, and my music YouTube channel, and my use your words, Matt. Pinterest and Instagram accounts are all Dr. Chumley, and that was the name of a character I played in the play Harvey in high school.
Oh, okay.
Dr. William Chumley. So, all right. So let's take a look at another pen. So I am going to pull up this one here. Now, this is a very pretty pen. I love this material. This is a Delta Fusion 82. And I don't feel like this pen gets enough attention because it's really comfortable in the hand. It's a really, really good writer. I like the design. I like the long, it's a little slender, but it's nice and long. The only thing, and honestly, I think that the two downfalls with this pen are the stupid Fusion nib, which Delta, I don't know what they were thinking when they came up with this nib.
And I think what bothers me is that if it wasn't there, the nib writes very, very well.
Yeah.
And so if it didn't have that silly piece of gold slapped on the front, that I wouldn't have any complaints about it, because I think it's very well made, and that it writes very well for a steel nib, and it just feels like some marketing ploy so that they could call it a gold nib. But I don't think that it enhances the value or enhances the ink flow like they claim. But I do like their steel nibs though.
Yeah, I have had several Deltas. In fact, I've got a review of the Dolce Vita Oversize coming up in about a week and a half or so, and I have yet to have a Delta pen that didn't have a spectacular nib in it.
Now, do you have that one with the gold nib or the Fusion?
The gold nib.
Yeah, I have an oversized like that with the.
Yeah, and really quickly, I've got the. This is the ink I'm using in my Delta Fusion 82. It is Private Reserve Electric DC Blue, which is a blue one of my favorite blue inks. It's dark. It reminds me a lot of Ackerman's Shocking Blue, which is supposed to be very similar to the Parker Penman Sapphire, Bungbok Sapphire. So if you're looking for a more affordable version of one of those inks, you don't have $120 you want to spend on a bottle of Penman Sapphire, Private Reserve Electric DC Blue is great. I haven't had any problems with it. I don't put it in latex sacked pens, but any cartridge converter pen, I really don't have any problem using it in there. So
cool.
What about you? What's next on your list?
Something that I discovered recently is I have a Pilot Justice 95. And the interesting thing about this is it has a little dial that you twist here, and there's a little metal here that extends on the nib to either make it hard or soft.
Hold your hand behind the nib. It's having a hard time focusing on that nib. There we go. There we go.
It has a little piece of metal there, and when you twist it, you to be hard or soft. And it's a gold nib that writes very, very well. Have you played with this one at all?
I have held it in my hands. I've never actually written with one. They had just come out right before my local pen shop closed, and so I held it in my hand. But I ended up buying Conway Stewart that day instead, and then by the time I went back again, they had closed, and I never got to play with one again. So
what I wonder is that I had a feeling like once I found the setting I'd like, it would just stay there forever, as opposed to me moving it back and forth. But so far I've been playing around with it, and I like it a lot. And the ink I have in it is something. I belong to the I go to the we had an ink exchange or an ink swap, and there was a brand I had never heard of here, and it's called Sites Krusnach. Are you familiar with that brand?
I actually had. Yeah, I actually had someone do a guest review of one of their inks on Pen Habit several months ago, and it was kind of I think they called it Magenta Orchid or something like that.
Yeah,
there's a dark
orchid like that.
Yeah. So really, it looked like a nice ink. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's a little on the light side, and like I said, I'm a sucker for a neat bottle, and this almost looks like some cough syrup or something like that. It's just a different bottle that I kind of like, and it's a nice, it's kind of a nice light blue. It doesn't have a lot of pop to it, like a Konpeki or a Private Reserve Naples blue or something like that. But so far it's decent, and I enjoy it.
So the Justice 95. Do you find a big difference in the feel of the pen when it's on the hard versus the soft setting, or is the difference pretty minor?
Not that I could tell, because I was curious with that myself. That could I really tell the difference between the hard and soft, and would it really make that much difference? And that I really don't find that the soft is bouncier. It really feels like the tines can spread just a little bit more, and the hard isn't too hard. But you really can feel a difference between the two, and it's not necessarily just in bounce. It just seems like you can spread them just a little bit more in the soft. But it's nice.
Oh, very cool. So let's I think we have to talk about this. Everyone seems to be talking about it lately, and I kind of I said this earlier, but I kind of feel bad that I even advertise this to the world, because now it's getting harder and harder for me to find them. But I understand you have joined me in the LV5 Club. So tell me about your decision to join that little realm.
Well, I had never intended to spend this much on a pen.
I think that is probably one of the most common refrains I hear when it comes to people who get into the hobby. It's like, I never intended to spend this much money. No.
But I think I said in my review of it recently that at this price point, you're buying something more than a pen. Yeah. It is something, it's a possession. And so of the versions that they had available, personally, I kind of prefer rhodium trim over gold for the most part. And they had one version that had the rhodium trim, which is the raindrops. And I really like this. And the pen is just amazing. It has an awesome feel to it. It has a really good weight to it, and the materials are just amazing. And that I would say that's the only thing I don't particularly care about my raindrops, is that it really doesn't show off the material as much as it does on some of the other models. If you're in bright light, it does. But I think that's probably one of the reasons that then I broke down and got myself the diamond ore, and really like. So where's yours? I know you probably have it there.
Mine is still inked up as well. This is my diamond ore.
If we touch, do like the Wonder Twin powers activate? Exactly. If we touch.
Well, so I think between the two of us, we've got 5 of these LB5s, and I actually have a 6th one being on hold for me until I get a job. So once I get my job and I have a paycheck coming in, I'm going to get the white one.
See, I think that if I was to get another one, the red one looks amazing. I don't know the availability of the red. I know it. I don't even want to ask, because if he says one's available, then I'm going to be tempted.
Yeah, for me, I'm not a collector of most things, but the LV5 is just an absolutely perfect pen for me, and so I would be thrilled to own one of every color. I need 3 more to get, besides the white one. There's the blue with the gold trim, the blue with the rhodium trim, and then the red. So I don't have either the 2 blue or the red. I do have that same blue material in the LB3 Jupiter, which I'll have on sometime, and I have the red material in the LM1, which is basically the same shape but smaller.
Well, hopefully you can find one of these because according to Andy, this was the very last one of the 50 that went out the door. That doesn't mean that there won't be an aftermarket later on, but as far as like brand new ones, who knows when another one might pop up, but I hope you were able to find one.
Yeah.
The next one that I had, while we're talking about Lambro and his pens, is Andy lent me an LR8.
Oh, nice.
Which I'll review in the next upcoming weeks. But this is the LR8. The R or the L is Lambro, and the R is Paul Rossi. And that this is similar to some of the Planet pens that they've done previously with the inlay, with the mother of pearl, and then I'm not quite acrylic that is on the pen itself, but it's very nice. It is not a Sailor nib. It's a Lambro branded nib, but it's very, very nice, and it's really grown on me. And in the time I've had it on loan, it's grown on me, and I like it.
Yeah, that's a beautiful pen. Those that Jupiter, that Paul Rossi inlay it's spectacular work. It really is beautiful work. So that's the same inlay that I've got. It's the same basic design that I have on my LV3, which I picked up in LA.
And in this pen, after your review of the Teka Inks, I went out and got some of my own. I said I'm originally from San Diego. I'm a big powder blues. And first of all, this is what the bottles look like. Really large bottles. I got the big one.
Yeah, that's 100 milliliter bottles. I think I've got a couple on my shelf here too.
And I'm not sure about the color match. I mean, I got the original hex code, and I think the problem is that a lot of times ink's gonna behave differently coming out of different pens on different paper and things like that. But just as a comparison, that was the color I was going for. And so I don't know if it quite hit it or not. Maybe it did. I think maybe it did a little bit, but the jury's still out. It's a nice ink, but whether it totally matched the color or not, I think it has a lot to do with the pen you're using and how you apply it and things like that. But so far I like the ink.
And really surprisingly affordable cost for the amount of ink you get, even if the color's not quite exactly what you were thinking. And in this particular, in my case with those Teka inks, I just said I want an emerald green and an aubergine purple. I didn't give them a hex code, so I don't really have anything to compare. Like, did they hit it or not? But I do think there's a lot of difficulty in that translation between additive color and subtractive color, and difference in screen monitoring and things like that. I try to have my screens pretty closely calibrated because I'm doing a lot of color correction for photos and videos and stuff like that. But I know it's a really, really tricky thing to handle. So is the color 100% exactly right? Maybe not, but it's still, as they say, close enough for government work.
Yeah, it was in the ballpark. So and I'm happy with the ink overall, and it seems well behaved, and so far I'm happy with it. And I've enjoyed that. So what else do you have?
Oh, well, I mean, I've got a big old honkin', this is one of my my Dudek Modern Goods pen stand. So one pen that I had to ink up because, one of the things I both like and don't like about reviewing is I get to use a lot of different pens. But a lot of times I don't get to spend the time with the pens I want to. It's like there's the difference between the pens that I have to get reviewed and the pens that if I could just pick one to sit down with, I would pick. And so this is one that I picked to sit down with. This is the Tebaldi Imperial. Tebaldi was an Italian manufacturer. They went out of business many years ago. The Imperial is... I think it's a 12-sided faceted pen, very similar in design to the Omas, may they rest in peace, Arte Italiana Paragon in design. But what makes the Imperial special is this material, and you can kind of see it's this black and silver and white flecked with these veins of deep saturated blue, just bright sapphire blue. It's a stunning pen. And I found one at in LA, original box and papers, and I committed the cardinal sin of inking the pen because I bought it to use it, not to collect it. I mean, I'll collect it because it's a beautiful pen, but it is not new old stock anymore because it has been inked. But it's a gorgeous pen, and I've got it inked with the new Lamy dark lilac ink. So here is my swatch of it there.
That's a nice deep lilac there.
I like this ink a whole bunch. I mean, I love purple inks anyway, but I am really starting to like this ink a bunch. So you got another one in your to-do list?
For this, because the other day, or a while back, you did a review of the Diplomat Arrow.
I'm going to interrupt you just a second and say so I had to give away the black one, and I got the matte brown one instead. So, and it just came last week, and I got it inked up again too. So yeah.
And I will say that, you know what, I find with certain levels of pen, you expect them to be great. Mm-hmm. And then there's another level to where it's questionable. Maybe it's going to be good, maybe it's not. And I really like it when I get one that really impresses me and performs a lot better than maybe I had anticipated and far exceeds that. And I really have to say that that's what it is. I don't know the matte finish that they have on it. It just feels unique. It feels different than any other pen in my collection. And I like the way they treat the section as well. And the nib is amazing. It just writes fantastic.
Yeah, I said this in the review, but I have to say, I think those Diplomat nibs might be one of the top 2 or 3 steel nibs I've ever used in my life. Now, granted, I've only been using pens for just a little over 3 years, so I don't have a ton of experience, but I can't think off the top of my head of a steel nib that came from the factory that is as nice as that one is.
Yeah, I was very, very impressed. And right now, I actually have it inked with a Wall Eversharp Wallberry. So it's a nice purple.
Yeah, I think I have the Everberry. I'm just checking on my shelf behind me here. I think because I got the Everberry. That's the one that came with my Deco band when I got the new Deco band. So yeah.
Plus, this kind of has like a mason jar look to it. Like I said, I kind of like cool jars, and so a lot of times if I see something that's just different than anything else I've had before, I think that's the first thing that drew me to this ink was a very cool bottle.
Oh, that's cool. So why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the stuff you've got coming up on FigbootOnPens, and
sure.
And you know, a little bit how people can find you and get involved with your channel?
Well, the next review I have coming up is something like Monty Python said, you know.
And now for something completely different.
Is a Totoro fountain pen. Are you familiar with Miyazaki films?
I know of them, but I have not spent a lot of time watching them. So yeah, I know of them.
They are actually very, very good films that appeal to kids, but then also to adults as well. They're not just animated films for kids. But My Neighbor Totoro is one of my favorite films by Miyazaki, and I found someone on Etsy who is I believe they're in Korea, that sell this pen, and had some sent over. And then also they were nice enough to send me some. So this weekend I'm going to be reviewing it, and I have 3 to give away. So
very cool.
I'll be reviewing that as well. And so that's one of those things coming up. And also probably the week after, I have a nice Sailor King of Pen Ebonite.
Oh, nice.
I'll be looking at as well. That is just a nice, solid ebonite pen that I really, really like, and performs very well. And as it's a kind of a. I can be reached at FigbootOnPens@gmail.com, and that the FigbootOnPens is my YouTube channel, and welcome to have you over to watch some videos after you're done watching all the videos on Matt's channel.
Well, frankly, you're probably putting out more videos than I am these days. I seem to have a hard time toward the end of the, because I do the seasons, because I get so burned out. I love pens, and I love using pens, and I love reviewing pens. But there comes a time toward the end of the season, right as the weather starts getting nice outside, where the thought of sitting in this padded room for 1 second longer makes me want to go I bust the windows out your car on my ink bottles. So, especially because I love to garden. So it's during the summer in Seattle, which is gorgeous here.
I try to get on a schedule. So that's one thing when I started, I kind of said, oh, you know what, I'm going to do one video a week. So kind of get on a schedule, and so that I can kind of get into a routine of when I do it, when I produce it, when I write it, and things like that, so that then what I don't want to have happen way. That you want to, it's something I wanted to stick with for a while. And, I try new things. You never quite know what's going to hit with people and not hit with people. Like I like magic, and once I tried a magic trick on one of my videos, and I practiced that thing all week long, and I nailed it. I actually did it in one take and was happy, and then there was like only one comment on the video. And so it was like one of those things where you never quite know what's going to hit with people. It might turn out great, or it might not. So I like to try new things and try to always improve the quality, which is actually why I reached out to you in the first place, is because you have fantastic production quality, and something that I aspire to is getting closer to that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, and this is, my advice to anyone, not that anyone asked for my advice, but that's never stopped me before. My advice for anyone who wants to do reviews is spend some time figuring out your voice, because when I started, my reviews were a lot like Stephen Brown's reviews, and in some ways they still, reviews can only be so different. Yeah. but people were accusing me right from the get-go of just copying Stephen, and you know what? I did. I copied him mercilessly, so much so that I actually had to go back and re-record a couple of intros to a couple of my videos, because I even started it sounding as like, "Hey there."
And that's one of the things I really tried to do, like you said, is find your own voice, and not be like anything else. And even to the point where there's lots of little things, how my setup is. I try to pay attention to that. When I'm doing my writing sample, what do I write? Do I write Quick Brown Fox? Oh, well, maybe everyone will think I'm copying Stephen. Do I write a quote? Maybe people think I'm copying you. I think I ended up going with Quick Brown Fox just out of laziness, because then I didn't want to have to look up a quote every single week.
Yeah, well, that's the wise way to go, because I have decided to make my life as difficult as possible by putting these together. It's like every season I'm like, I wonder how I can add an extra hour and a half worth of work to doing every single video that I do. I know, let's add a third camera. What are you gonna do? So it's a lot of fun, though.
Well, and I think that's the key, is that's part of the fun, and that I really want to do this. I have fun doing it, and I have fun interacting and fun creating and reviewing these things. And in the grand scheme of things, if people watch and enjoy it, that's fantastic. If they don't, then I'm still having fun. Yeah. And that's the important part, is I want to enjoy doing this and not have it turn into and look forward to continue doing it for quite some time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we wrap up, so I'm going to do this thing. I'm not sure if it's going to become a regular thing or not, but I'm going to try it here because, like, as you said, I'm trying to find the voice of this little video podcast thing. So if you would give us your top 2 or 3 pens and 2 or 3 inks, just off the top of your head, don't think too hard.
Okay, I'd have to say, well, the LV5s are probably number 1. I really enjoy my Pelikan M805. That's one that I really enjoy as well.
Is that the blue one, or did you get the Stresemann, or however it's pronounced?
I have the blue.
Oh, okay.
The blue. And I really enjoyed that. And then Another one that's in my top 10 that it doesn't get a lot of attention, but is always fun to use, is I really enjoy my Dialogue 3. It's not for everybody, but the Lamy Dialogue 3 is a pen that whenever I use it, I enjoy using it. So those are kind of my my three favorite that I enjoy using right now. And I'd say in regard to inks, right now I've been really into some brown inks lately, and especially when you get a nice brown pen like this, that you really need a brown ink in order to show it off. The Terra Firma has been one of my favorite brown inks. I actually really enjoy Stevens ink, the SBRE Brown, which I wish came in a larger bottle, because I'm going to feel sad once it's gone, knowing that you can't get any more. So part of me wants to use it, and another part of me says, no, I don't want to use it because I don't want it to go away. And I really kind of will call it the blues that pop, the Konpeki and the Ackerman Shocking Blue and the Private Reserve Naples Blue. Kind of all three of those blues are some of my favorites as well.
Very cool. Well, in terms of browns, if you haven't tried it yet, so it's not often I have a favorite ink, you know, one favorite ink, but right now I have a favorite ink. And if you can justify the cost to yourself, and because you have an LB3, justification is something I'm sure you're capable of doing. Try the Sailor Bung Box Piano Mahogany.
I have the 4B, but I don't have the mahogany yet.
Oh my goodness, the Piano Mahogany is just one of the most gorgeous inks I have ever seen. It's rich, kind of like a chocolate brown with a red undertone to it. And maybe it's just my years of sitting behind a mahogany. I mean, my piano that I grew up with was a mahogany piano. But sitting behind that piano for, 12 years of my life, that color is just spectacular. And on Tomoe River paper, it's amazing. So.
I've been eyeing that one. I've been eyeing a couple of more, and so far I really enjoy the Sailor inks. I'm really not a fan of their bottles.
I hate their bottles with it.
Oh, try getting this nib in one of those Sailor, it just doesn't work.
Well, the first thing I do every time I get a new bottle of Sailor ink is I don latex gloves and take out that stupid little plastic cone.
Yeah.
Because unless you've got a nib that's about 1/4 of an inch long, you can't fill the pen with that cone in place. That's
why I wish the Bung Box still had the old bottles. The old bottles for Bung Box were fine. And I have one bottle of the old Bung Box ink, which a color I'm really not that fond of. It's the lapis blue, or it's a little too light. But yeah, those bottles are amazing. Those work
perfect. Yeah, perfect bottles. Were absolutely perfect bottles for ink.
So I might have to check out that mahogany, because I've been eyeing it lately as far as picking up, because kind of got hooked on the ink bug, and I think I have like almost 80 bottles of ink now. So more ink. I think between the two of us, we have enough ink for many, many, many lifetimes. Yeah, and our heirs will have ink for as long as they want it as well.
I have a spreadsheet where I've been trying to keep track of all my ink. I'm eventually going to put it up online. I added it up actually this morning. With a bunch of new bottles that I added. I got this new Sailor Kingdom notes.
Yep.
I got 2 bottles of the Lamy Dark Lilac, the new Aquamarine Pelican Edelstein ink, which I really, really like. In fact, I'll just pull up the swatch of that really quickly. It's the Homo sapien. Oh, sorry. I can't see my screen. Shading around the edges. And the Graf von Faber-Castell Deep Sea Blue, I just got that as well. So I added it all up, threw the spreadsheet in, put the sum formula down at the bottom of the column. 171 full-sized bottles of ink.
Yeah, I'm not counting samples, and actually I haven't gone overboard on samples. But I will say that getting whole packet I got, I probably ended up buying bottles of most of those inks, and so I did like them. And one little plug for something on my channel is that I created a spreadsheet to track all of your everyday carry as well as log your entire collection and ink collection. And so if you're interested in that, I'm an Excel geek, so that's what I do. I basically created something to track my own daily use, so I know, okay, I used this pen last 37 days ago, I need to use it again coming up. If you're interested in something like that, it's called the EDC log, and you can find that on my channel.
Very cool. There's actually a in the Seattle area, there is a world-renowned Schaefer collector. His name is Bill Sachs, I believe. I've met him a couple times. I met him once at a local Seattle pen meetup, and I met him at the LA show. I saw him at the DC show, but I didn't know him then. And he has literally thousands and thousands of Schaefers. He's going, when he's like, when I die, my collection is being donated to the Schaefer Museum. It's that level of a collection. And he was an engineer when he, I think he was an engineer with Boeing or something like that when he was, before he retired. And he has this Levenger Circa notebook. It's probably about that thick. And if you're not familiar with the Circa, instead of rings, it's these discs, and you have this kind of mushroom-shaped punch, and you can put paper in there and pull it out. Put it in, pull it out without having to open up a ring or anything like that. Full of pages, tiny type spreadsheet pages of every pen in every color, the year it was made. It's nuts in the best possible way. It is absolutely the most impressive documentation of a collection I have ever seen. And so, yeah, I have great admiration for people who can manage their hobby like that. I do an okay job of it, but I just don't have that level of attention to detail.
Well, I mentioned this in my LV5 review, but every day or every Sunday, I sit down with my spreadsheet and I kind of plan my week's worth of pens. And that I find that there's pens that really go with days of the week. There's Monday pens, and there's middle of the week pens, and then there's like Friday pens. And you kind of almost have to have that flow of how is my week going to be, and I enjoy doing that. And then basically cycling through my collection as well, but figuring out which pens fit with which days and keeping track of the collection. It's just, like I said, I'm an Excel geek. That's kind of how I make my living. And so that's kind of natural for me to do that. Might not be for everybody, but it's kind of how I stay organized.
Very cool. Well, I think we have droned on long enough. So, David, thank you so much for joining me on this second episode of Currently Inked. And everyone, please make sure, if you aren't following David or aren't subscribed to David's YouTube channel, it's FigbootOnPens. You can just search for that in the search box on YouTube and follow his reviews. He does a great job with them. I've been enjoying them. I saw the LV5 review and I thought, I feel at least partially responsible for this, so I should probably, have him on to apologize. So.
Watch these and not think that these are, this is going to be the pen that fulfills my life forever.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much, David. Thank you, everyone who watched, and we will see you here next time on The Pen Habit for another Currently Inked episode. Bye.